The Shaper team are proud to introduce Dolores, the latest software running on Origin. It will download in the background and bring with it a huge array of improvements to efficiencies, accuracy, stability, you name it. We've been listening to you, the community in the field who are using the tool and are trying to find the best ways of keeping you effective, productive, capable, and confident. Here's an excellent feature that will improve all of your cutting operations significantly. We call it fast retract. So I'm going to plunge down here to 1.5 inches. And then display how quickly Origin is now able to clear the work surface as it retracts. So 3, 2, 1, retract. We'll play a side by side so you can see the retraction of the old software versus the new software. And you'll see it's a marked improvement. This enables us to be more productive and efficient. We can set up our next cut and keep working rather than waiting for retractions. It also means our work surface is significantly less likely to be damaged by a mistake. As the cutter clears the surface so quickly, there's less chance of doing harm to the material you're cutting. Pocketing's been overhauled. Now we can see the pocket a lot more clearly. And another big advantage is we can start pocketing anywhere. You'll notice I'm in the very middle of this area and the cut button is available, which is now named cut. So I can start cutting in the middle of a pocket. Previously we had to hunt around and find the edge in order to start cutting a pocket. Now we can just pick up cutting anywhere we like in the middle of a pocket without having to think about it too much. Path selection has been overhauled. It should be a lot easier to select the path closest to the center of your corrective range. And beyond that, we've added the ability to switch between paths. So you'll see here, every time we hit the select button, a different path is selected. And that makes things just more predictable and easier to manage. You notice that stays sticky. So as I move around, it stays locked on that path till I move away and come back again, in which case they select as they usually do. Down here you'll notice the select button tells you how many paths are within the corrective range. So it's switching between 3 in this case. In place mode, we've improved our ability to zoom in on anchor points. Placing large shapes has been a bit of a challenge in the past, especially, so this one's like 30 inches wide. And you'll notice I've got a fine grid here, and it's difficult to see exactly where I am. So I'm not feeling very confident about my placement. I can obviously read the position readouts up here, but what I really want to do is zoom in, and we've added that ability. So now we can confidently place our object where we want it. We have the ability to zoom in and out, and when I'm zoomed out, here's a good example, it's zooming around the anchor point. So you'll see here, if I change the anchor point to the center, we're zooming into the center. Likewise, bottom left. So zoom in with pinch to zoom, in and out with the quick slider there, and we can just confirm exactly where we're placed, and now we can confidently move on to cutting this shape. The plunge animation has had a little revisit to make it more snappy, more responsive, and it also communicates a little differently. It's showing us the percentage of our cut depth that we've traveled. So at this full depth, it'll show you 100%. The little red animation will be the full circle, and then as it retracts, you'll notice it's a percentage of that. It's subtle, but should give you a clearer understanding of where your cutter is exactly in Z. We've overhauled the way we highlight shapes. Previously, we'd look at the tool path, the dotted line there, and the cut channel, the gray swath, and that was all that would indicate what elements it was we were cutting. You'll see now we've added this green line, which tells me this SVG shape is producing this toolpath, and that updates depending on which element you have selected. That becomes really handy when you get into the larger cutter diameters. You'll see in this case things get a little ambiguous when they start overlapping other shapes, and vital once you get into offsets. So with concentric shapes and offsets, things very rapidly got confusing previously. This now helps us identify the exact path that is generating the toolpath, so we can keep track of where we're at in our project and always be cutting the appropriate element. Open paths are much more clearly visualized. Instead of requiring that you hover over the endpoint for them to react, they're much more clearly identified with the green stroke. Also, if we start trying to cut in the middle, we get a little reminder to go to the endpoint to begin cutting. making it a lot easier to identify, manipulate, and cut open-ended shapes. Anchor points have been overhauled. Firstly, they are sticky, so whatever anchor point you used last time is going to be the new standard. Previously it defaulted to bottom center, so if I was using bottom left for every time I imported a shape, that would now be consistent. So if I place a shape there, import another one, it's going to continue to use that bottom left. So you can see here my anchor point is the bottom left, and you'll notice we've stripped away a couple of buttons here to speed this up. So place that, and then if I did another one and used the bottom right, that becomes the new standard. So I'll place that, and now every time moving forward it'll be bottom right. So that just means if we're using standard anchor points, it's not going to keep reverting on you. It's going to use the last one you used. There were a few user frustrations with erase cuts, so we've actually moved that up to the top right corner here, which is a lot less likely to be clicked when you're using the calculator or any of the other buttons on screen. So that's readily available in both the cut and the design menu, so we can just hit the button, erase cuts, without having to hover over lines or anything like that. So much more simple and clean. The settings menu has been overhauled, simplified to include just the basics at the top level, so that gets you a quick idea of your ShaperHub profile, what you're logged in as, your name, and then your Wi-Fi connection and the basic info. So digging in deeper, you get to see if your tool is up to date, has the latest software running, and then the serial number if you need to do any support, just the basic info you need there. So in the settings menu, you'll see all the basics. We have just completed an update. So I'm going to go in here, and now we're presented with the ability to delay up to 5 days an update. So if I'm in the middle of a big important job and just don't want anything to change, I can leave this and then update later. If I update now, we get clear indications of the progress of the update. So no longer is it ambiguous, everything's upfront and straightforward. So you always know where you stand as far as updates, and you won't see that with having just installed this version, but from this version on, you will see this, this information presented in the midst of an update. So as you can see, the Shaper team has been excited to toil away on the capabilities and features that enable you, the customer, to be more effective and capable in the field. So thank you for contributing, and we'll continue to make Origin a more effective and capable tool in coming releases, so stay tuned.